Thorday they silenced. Hope the first time Captain Marcus Chen saw Ambassador Elena Vasquez step onto Nexus Station, he knew she was different. While other diplomats from the so-called lesser species kept their heads down and spoke in whispers, Elena walked with purpose. Her dark eyes swept the massive orbital platform with the calculating gaze of someone who understood power dynamics better than most aliens gave humans credit for. Nexus Station was the heart of galactic politics. A spinning metal giant the size of Earth's moon, it housed representatives from over 300 species. The station's central spire reached toward the galaxy's core, its observation decks offering a view of the swirling cosmic dance that had mesmerized civilizations for millennia. But Elena wasn't here for the view. "Captain Chen," she said as they walked through the arrival bay, her voice steady despite the weight of history on her shoulders. "I want you to understand something. Every human who has set foot on this station before me has left with less than they came for. Today, that changes." Chen had served as security chief for Earth's diplomatic missions for 8 years. He'd watched human ambassadors get dismissed, ignored, and treated like children asking for table scraps. The Galactic Confederation had rules, they said, procedures, protocols that newer species needed to learn. Elena was Earth's 7th ambassador in a decade. The others had all returned home broken. But Elena was different. She'd spent 15 years studying xenopsychology, 5 more learning the intricate web of galactic economics, and another 3 mastering the political systems of the major powers. While other species saw humans as impulsive and emotional, Elena played the long game with patience that would make a Zen master jealous. The hegemony council chambers were a testament to alien arrogance. The Cathera who dominated the council had designed the space to intimidate. Towering crystal pillars stretched toward a domed ceiling that displayed the territories under Confederation control. Earth appeared as a tiny blue dot on the outer rim, barely visible among the thousands of systems. High Chancellor Vextar of the Cathera species presided from an elevated platform, his 6 arms moving in ritualistic patterns as he spoke. The Kithra looked like oversized mantises crossed with jeweled spiders, their crystalline exoskeletons catching the chamber's light. They'd ruled the core systems for over 1,000 years and saw themselves as the galaxy's natural leaders. "The human delegation may present its petition," Vextar announced, his voice carrying the dismissive tone reserved for annoyances. Elena stepped forward without hesitation. Around the circular chamber, representatives from hundreds of species watched with varying degrees of interest. Most expected another human failure. Chen positioned himself at the chamber's edge, his hand resting on his sidearm. Something felt wrong. The usual security protocols had been relaxed. Several Kythera guards had been reassigned at the last minute. "Honored Chancellor," Elena began, her voice carrying clearly through the chamber's acoustics. "I come not to petition, but to propose a partnership." A ripple of surprise moved through the chamber. Humans didn't propose partnerships. They asked for permission, for guidance, for scraps from the galactic table. Elena activated a holographic display that filled the chamber's center. Trade routes, resource distributions, and economic data painted a picture that made several alien representatives lean forward with sudden interest. "For the past 50 years, Earth has been treated as a resource extraction point," Elena continued. "Our minerals, our agricultural products, our rare metals have flowed outward to core systems at prices that barely cover transportation costs. You've told us this was fair because we lacked the technology and political sophistication to demand better." Vextar's compound eyes glittered with annoyance. "The Confederation's trade policies are equitable for all member species based on their development level." Elena smiled. It wasn't a pleasant expression. "Then you'll be happy to know that Earth's development level has changed." The holographic display shifted, showing technical specifications that made even the Cathara's advanced minds pause. "We've solved faster-than-light communication without relays. We've developed self-replicating mining systems. And we've created something the galaxy hasn't seen in 1,000 years." The display showed a sleek ship design unlike anything in the galactic databases. It was smaller than most military vessels but radiated an efficiency that spoke of revolutionary engineering. A completely original starship design, Elena announced. Built from principles the Confederation doesn't understand. Because it's based on human creativity rather than inherited technology, the chamber erupted in surprised chatter. For millennia, galactic technology had been built on incremental improvements to designs inherited from the ancient builders. True innovation was rare, almost unheard of. But Chen wasn't watching the aliens' reactions. He was tracking the Cathera guards who were moving into new positions. His earpiece crackled with warnings from his security team. Energy signatures were spiking in the station's upper levels. Someone was charging weapons. Elena, he sub-vocalized into his throat mic. We need to go. Now. Elena heard him but didn't falter. This was her moment, humanity's moment, and she wouldn't waste it. I propose new trade agreements, she continued. Equal partnerships, shared technology exchanges. Earth is ready to take its place as a full member of galactic civilization. Vexitar's 6 arms moved in patterns that Chen's cultural briefings had taught him to recognize as extreme agitation. The human ambassador presumes too much. Your species has been guided by Confederation wisdom for barely a century. You cannot simply demand equality. I'm not demanding, Elena replied calmly. I'm offering, because here's what I've learned in my time studying your civilization. The Cathara and their allied species have been afraid of something for a very long time. You've been so focused on maintaining control that you've forgotten how to grow. She gestured to the display, which now showed economic projections that painted a disturbing picture. Your empire is stagnating, birth rates declining, innovation flatlined, resource extraction becoming less efficient every year. You need new ideas, new perspectives, new ways of thinking. You need species that haven't been ground down by 1,000 years of bureaucratic conformity. The truth of her words hung in the air like a challenge. Several alien representatives were nodding, recognizing patterns they'd seen in their own societies. But Vextar's response was a hiss of pure rage. The human will be silent. That's when Chen saw the targeting laser. It came from the observation gallery, a thin red line that painted Elena's chest for exactly 1 second before a weapon fired. The shot was designed to look like a malfunction, an accident. A plasma bolt from a Cathera ceremonial guard's rifle, misfiring during the formal proceedings. Elena staggered, her hand going to her chest where the energy blast had burned through her diplomatic robes and into her heart, but she didn't fall. Not yet. Chen was already moving, his weapon drawn, but Elena held up her hand to stop him. She had something to say, and she was going to say it even if it killed her. This, she gasped, blood staining her words. This is why humanity will never bow to you again. She touched her diplomatic badge, activating a hidden transmitter that Chen hadn't known existed. Her final words weren't spoken to the chamber. They were broadcast directly to Earth. The galaxy isn't what we thought, she said, her voice growing weaker, but her words clear. They didn't make a mistake. They didn't misfire. They killed me because I offered them partnership instead of submission, because I showed them that humans don't need their permission to be great. Elena's knees buckled, but she kept talking into the transmitter. They're afraid, Marcus. All of them. They've built their power on keeping others small, on making sure no one challenges their control. But they made one mistake. They showed their hand too early. Chaos erupted around them. Cathera guards were shouting about accidents and malfunctions. Alien representatives were demanding investigations. But Elena's words cut through it all. Tell Earth, she whispered, her life fading fast. Tell them what they really are. Tell them the galaxy needs to learn what happens when you kill hope itself. She died in Chen's arms, her blood pooling on the pristine floors of the chamber where humanity had tried one last time to find peace. But Elena had prepared for this possibility. As Chen held her cooling body, emergency broadcasts were already reaching Earth. Not just her final words, but months of secretly recorded conversations, bribes, and conspiracy discussions between Cathera leadership and their allied species. Elena had known they would never accept human equality. She'd been building a case for war. The Cathera tried to cover it up, claiming malfunction and accident. But Elena's evidence was already spreading through Earth's networks. More than that, it was reaching other species who had been similarly suppressed, other civilizations that had been told they weren't ready for true membership in galactic society. Within hours, Earth's response came not as words but as action. Every human ship in space received the same order: return home immediately. Every trade agreement was suspended. Every diplomatic mission was recalled. Ambassador Elena Vasquez had come to Nexus Station to offer partnership. She died offering something else entirely: revolution. And across the galaxy, humanity began to prepare for war. When humanity stopped playing nice. 6 months after Elena's assassination, Admiral Sarah Cross stood on the bridge of the newly commissioned UES Retribution, humanity's first true warship. Where Elena had been diplomatic and measured, Cross was direct and unforgiving. She'd been pulled from retirement after the Nexus Station incident, and she brought with her 40 years of military experience that the Confederation was about to learn to fear. The Retribution wasn't like other ships in Earth's fleet. Those had been built for exploration and trade, designed with the assumption that humanity would always be the junior partner in galactic relations. The Retribution was built for one purpose: to make the galaxy remember that humans were capable of terrible things when pushed too far. "Admiral," her tactical officer called out, "we're receiving another communication from the Cathara delegation. They want to discuss reparations for the accidental death of Ambassador Vasquez." Cross didn't look up from the tactical display showing the positions of alien fleets throughout the galaxy. Elena's death had triggered something unexpected. Other species were beginning to question Confederation authority. Trade routes were being disrupted. Several rim worlds had declared independence. "Tell them," Cross said calmly, "that Earth is no longer interested in their explanations. The past 6 months had transformed humanity in ways the galaxy couldn't have imagined. Elena's hidden intelligence network, revealed after her death, had provided Earth with detailed information about alien military capabilities, political structures, and most importantly, weaknesses. But the real change had come from within. Elena's death had shattered humanity's faith in diplomatic solutions. If offering partnership earned you an assassin's bolt, then perhaps it was time to offer something else. Commander James Torres, Cross's intelligence chief, approached with a data pad. "Admiral, the latest reports from our deep space reconnaissance." Cross reviewed the information with grim satisfaction. Human ships had been busy in the past 6 months, but not where the galaxy expected. While alien intelligence services watched Earth's shipyards and monitored the obvious military preparations, humanity had been building a different kind of force. Elena's technological revelations hadn't been empty boasts. Human scientists, freed from the assumption that alien technology was inherently superior, had made breakthrough after breakthrough. The self-replicating mining systems were real, and they'd been busy throughout the outer rim systems. The faster-than-light communication network was operational, giving Earth instantaneous contact with forces the galaxy didn't even know existed. Most importantly, the innovative ship designs Elena had shown the Confederation weren't prototypes. They were production models, and Earth had been building them in hidden shipyards beyond the galaxy's charted regions. "Status report," Cross ordered. Torres activated the holographic display. "Operation Ghost Fleet is ready for implementation. We have 47 ships positioned throughout Cathara space, all undetected. The communication network is active across 37 systems. And Admiral, we've received confirmation from the Zilani resistance." Cross nodded with grim approval. The Zilani were another species that had been suppressed by the Confederation's hierarchy. They'd been fighting a guerrilla war against Cathara occupation for decades, dismissed by the galaxy as terrorists and primitives. Elena's evidence had revealed the truth. The Zilani had legitimate grievances that the Confederation had systematically ignored. Now they had human weapons and human support. "What about the Thraxian mining collectives?" Cross asked. 3 systems have openly declared support for Earth's position. They're cutting off rare metal shipments to the core worlds. The Cathara are already feeling the economic pressure. Cross studied the tactical display with the eye of someone who had spent decades understanding how power really worked. Elena had tried to change the galaxy through diplomacy and reason. Cross was going to change it through strength and consequences. "Admiral," the communication officer called out. "Priority transmission from Nexus Station. High Chancellor Vexitar wishes to speak with you directly." Cross had been expecting this. The Cathara were finally beginning to understand that humanity's response to Elena's death was more than diplomatic protests and trade disruptions. "Put him through." Vexitar's crystalline form appeared in the holographic display, his 6 arms, moving in patterns that human xenopsychologists had learned to read as extreme anxiety. "Admiral Cross," the Cathara leader began, "the Confederation Council wishes to express its continued regret for the unfortunate accident that resulted in Ambassador Vasquez's death. We are prepared to offer substantial compensation and trade concessions to resolve this unfortunate misunderstanding." Cross let him finish before responding. When she spoke, her voice carried the cold authority of someone who held all the cards. "Hi. Chancellor, let me be very clear about something. We know it wasn't an accident. We have recordings of your planning sessions. We have evidence of the conspiracy. We know exactly who gave the order and why." Vexitar's compound eyes flickered with what Torres had taught her to recognize as fear. "Admiral, surely we can reach some accommodation. The Confederation has always valued its relationship with Earth." "No," Cross said simply. "You haven't. You've valued Earth's resources and Earth's compliance. But Elena showed you something that terrified you. The possibility that humans might actually be your equals. So you killed her." The Admiral gestured to her tactical officer, who began transmitting data to Nexus Station. "You're looking at real-time feeds from 47 human ships currently positioned throughout Cathara space. Ships you can't detect, because they're built on principles your sensors don't recognize. Each one is capable of sterilizing a planet's surface or crippling a system's infrastructure." Vexitar's arms froze mid-gesture. "Admiral, surely you're not threatening military action over a diplomatic incident." Cross smiled, and it was exactly as unpleasant as Elena's had been in the council chambers. "I'm not threatening anything, Chancellor. I'm explaining the new reality. For 6 months you've been telling the galaxy that Elena's death was an accident, that Earth should accept compensation and move on. Here's what's actually going to happen." The display shifted to show economic data, trade routes, and resource flows throughout the galaxy. First, the Zelani resistance is now armed with human weapons and supported by human intelligence. Their terrorist attacks are about to become a lot more effective. Second, 17 species have asked Earth for protection from Confederation peacekeeping forces. We've said yes. Third, our mining operations in the Outer Rim are now producing more rare metals than the core worlds consume. We don't need your trade networks anymore. Each point hit Vexitar like a physical blow. The Confederation's power structure depended on controlling resources and maintaining the myth of inevitable superiority. "But here's the most important change," Cross continued. "Humanity is no longer asking for permission to exist as equals in this galaxy. We're taking our place, and anyone who wants to stop us is welcome to try." The transmission ended, leaving Vexitar staring at a blank screen. 3 hours later, the Cathara made their response. A fleet of 60 ships jumped into the Sol system, prepared to make an example of the upstart humans who dared challenge galactic order. They found themselves facing 200 human vessels using technology that made their ancient designs look like stone tools. The Battle of Sol lasted exactly 17 minutes. No human ships were lost. The surviving Cathara vessels limped home with a message. The galaxy had a new power, and that power was not interested in negotiating. Within a week, 5 more species had declared independence from Confederation authority. The Thraxian collectives, formerly allied with Earth. 3 core worlds experienced uprisings supported by human weapons and advisors. Elena Vasquez had come to Nexus Station to offer partnership. Her death had accomplished something she never could have achieved in life. It had shown humanity that some enemies were too dangerous to leave alive, and some injustices too great to forgive. Admiral Cross returned to Earth as the architect of humanity's emergence as a galactic power. But she never forgot the woman whose death had made it all possible. In the new Earth Capitol building, a memorial wall displayed Elena's final transmission on continuous loop. Her words had become humanity's new creed. "Tell them what they really are. Tell them the galaxy needs to learn what happens when you kill hope itself. The galaxy had learned, and it would never be the same.